Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Boss Academy. Class is now in session, all right? And I feel like today I really wanted to talk about how do you know that a friendship has run its course? I mean, because it's obvious, and I hope everybody knows that, like, when I say relationships, like, I mean all types of relationships that we're going to dive into here. Friendships, family, relationship with self, romantic partnerships, relationships in the workplace, okay? Because all types of relationships matter so greatly. And today I really wanted to talk about friendships. I've been having a lot of conversations like with my current clients lately about friendships, about how hard it is to make friends, and some who are also even at pivotal parts of their life where they're realizing that some friends aren't fitting into their life and their lifestyle, into this next chapter that they're growing into, right? And then we stop and we ask ourselves, but like, how do you even know that a friendship has run its course? Because we want to hold on to our friends. Who doesn't want to hold on to friendships? But there are certain signs and certain things to pay attention to when a certain friendship has run its course. It's okay to outgrow friendships. It's okay to realize that maybe you're not aligned with somebody anymore that once was your best friend in the entire world and you never thought that you would stop being their friend. It's happened to me, and it's happened to even my mom and my husband and everybody in my life that I know. And a lot of my clients it's happened to as well, especially because they started their growth process by healing with me. You know what I mean? I've lost a lot of friends that I thought were going to be my friends for forever for a countless number of reasons. And I can go into more detail if you are subscribed to my Patreon account. That is where we talk all the unfiltered stuff. That is where we spill the tea. So I will go into detail about how I have stopped being friends with some of my friends. Subscribe to Patreon, and that's where the tea is piping hot, okay? But today, let's just kind of talk about how do you even know that a friendship has run its course, all right? First thing to pay attention to is if it feels like a chore, all right? If hanging out with your friend feels more like something you have to do rather than something you want to do, that is a big red flag. I would hope that you would agree, right? Friendships should feel easy. Friendships should feel enjoyable and not like it's just another item on your to-do list that you have to do, right? It should not feel like a chore. You should not leave a hangout with a friend feeling more drained and more tired than you did before you hung out with them, right? Now, listen, I am a very much introvert, and I do leave certain situations feeling like, okay, I just got my social fill. I do not need to see anybody or hang out with anybody for like a week. But that's just being social in general. That is not subject to like the specific person. If you feel like that person leaves you feeling like, wow, that was a lot. I don't know how I feel about that exchange. That just didn't really feel that good to me. That feels like a chore. Just pay attention to that sign, okay? Number 2, you are always the one reaching out. Friendships, the last time I checked, go both ways, right? Just like a romantic relationship takes 2 people to make it work, so does a friendship. Absolutely, right? So do you ever notice if you are the only one texting first, or you are the only one making plans, you are the only one asking your friend, how are you? How are you doing? How are things? Or paying attention to realize, oh, my friend told me that last week they had like this really hard exam that they were going through. Let me think about them and check in with them on how their exam was. But you're realizing that you're never having them reach out to you. You told them that you had a really hard, conversation with your partner last week, right? And you haven't heard from them. They haven't checked in on you to ask you how that conversation went. They haven't checked in on you to see how you are feeling, if you are okay, right? So you're realizing that you're the only one actually reaching out in this friendship. And if you are putting in all of this effort and getting little to nothing in return, it just might be time to rethink things, right? we could be givers. Like, some people in this world like to give and like to give our energy and like to be there for our friends. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But you should also feel like you're receiving at the same time. You shouldn't just feel like you're giving, and never receiving. And that applies to romantic partnerships as well. There should be a solid balance of give and take, right? It should never just be a one-way street, all right? Next, you also want to ask yourself, like, maybe we've just naturally drifted apart, which is okay. I know that sometimes people freak out when you realize you've naturally drifted apart from someone, but I think that that's just like the universe being like, they're just gonna slowly drift out of your life, and it might just naturally happen. No big thing happened, like where you got in a huge fight to end your friendship, or, something crazy didn't happen where you broke up with the friendship. It just might be that you're naturally drifting apart because you're starting to go down different avenues in your life. And that is okay too, right? Sometimes you just grow in different directions. It's just part of life, and if you no longer share the same interests, or you find it really hard to relate to each other's lives, that's when things are going to like naturally drift apart. And who knows, maybe it'll bring you closer together. I've had those friendships where we've naturally drifted apart, but we're meant to be in each other's lives in one way or another. And maybe we go years without talking because like they had kids and I haven't gotten to that chapter in my life yet, but then something later down the line reminds me, listen, like this person is going to be a part of my life forever. And then we reach out and we text and they come back into your world. Like, sometimes people will drift in and out of your lives, and it's no need to panic. It's just kind of asking yourself, maybe our worlds just don't align right now, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. That's just part of life. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean you want to hold on to that friendship and white knuckle it and hold on to it for dear life and try and force a round peg into a square hole, right? Just let things naturally drift apart if that seems to be the direction that the universe is kind of taking that friendship, okay? Next, it's all about them. Like, all about them. And I'll talk about this on Patreon too, but I have had those friends where it is just, they talk about themselves the whole time you're with them. And listen, like, I am someone who has a habit of like directing the conversation back to other people. Well, how are you? Well, how are you doing? Well, tell me about you and like what's going on in your world. But I still want to feel like there's an actual conversation happening. Like, there's someone who actually cares about me and cares about my life and doesn't only want to talk about themselves, but can actually hold a genuine, real conversation, which means actually being curious about you and what you're doing, right? If the friendship is just all about their problems and their achievements and their life, okay, with no room for you, it is just a sign that things are just out of balance. That like maybe they're just not like your person right now. It may have fit like a certain party era of your life where you didn't have to want to talk about like meaningful stuff and life stuff and like have those more deeper intimate connections with somebody, right? But now, if you're in your later 20s and early 30s, like, we want to have friendships where it feels like they care about us and they want to ask about us. And it's not just a pity party, complaining hour when we go and get lunch with them and all they do is talk about themselves and never ask you, how are you? You deserve to take up space too. And you deserve to have a friend who allows you to take up that space, because a good friendship is about mutual support. It is not just one person constantly being in the spotlight. That spotlight deserves to be shared, okay? You're also maybe holding on to that friendship out of guilt, right? So if you are staying friends with somebody because you feel guilty or you feel obligated, rather than just because you enjoy their company, I would pay attention to that too. Like, if somebody reaches out to you and you're like, well, I told them I'd see them and I haven't seen them in a long time, and like I just feel guilty because I've known them since I was like 7, but we don't really have a lot to talk about anymore, you know? It's just probably a sign that it's time to let that friendship kind of go and run its course. You know, friendships should be about wanting to be there, not feeling like you have to be there, because that's when you get into the realm of feeling drained if you hang out with them. That's when you get into the realm of being in friendships for too long where you don't feel like things are being reciprocated, or you're the only one reaching out because you feel like it's been a long time. Like, the ones that you're operating out of guilt, like, you wouldn't stay with a romantic partner because you feel guilty. I know some people do, but that's an episode for another time, right? Not just staying in a relationship because you feel like you have to, right? The same thing applies for friendships as well. Don't just stay out of guilt, because to be honest, that's also hurting the other person just as much as it's hurting you, right? And not lastly, they don't respect your boundaries, right? We want friendships that respect our boundaries. And if a friendship is continuing to cross lines, right, that you've set. So for example, if you've set a boundary with a friend, listen, I know that I have a lot going on in my relationship, but I need you to trust me, and I need you to trust my decisions without trying to tell me that I should just break up with this person or that they are a horrible person for me, right? And you set a boundary with them, okay? And they continue to cross that line. They continue to tell you what to do. They continue to tell you, this is not your person. You're being stupid. You're making a wrong choice. That is someone like literally intentionally crossing a boundary, right? And we've now set our standards high for romantic partners and family members to have boundaries with them. And the same thing should apply to our friendships, you know? Whether it is making hurtful comments, pushing you into things that you do not want to do, or just not respecting your time, right? That is a sign that a friendship might be more harmful than helpful, okay? Maybe you're just also like, this one sounds like so simple, but like maybe you're just not feeling it anymore. Like, if you're just not excited to hang out with them, or you're just kind of realizing your conversations is like more about gossip and like talking shit about people than it is about like talking about your goals and your dreams and how you've grown and how you want to be like a better person and what you're doing to work on yourself, right? Like, if the conversation has just kind of like shifted or changed and it just doesn't feel aligned anymore when you hang out with this person and you're just not feeling it, then you're just not feeling it. And that's typically a sign that you've outgrown the friendship, like I mentioned earlier, right? Sometimes you just outgrow people, and that is normal. And that does happen a lot when I work with my clients privately, because they're learning about the things that are really important. They're learning about things that are authentic to them. They're letting go of even like drinking and alcohol and partying so much in a way to connect with people, because it's bad for our mental health. It's bad for our romantic relationships. They're getting excited about their goals and their dreams and talking about their fears, right? And getting excited for what it feels like to manifest with the universe. But if you don't have a friendship that is at that level, that still every time you see them likes to talk crap about the girl who you were in a sorority with, or who likes to just like complain the whole time and bring the vibe down, right? And every time you see him, you're like, this is just not it. And you're just not feeling it. That's just a sign you've outgrown the friendship. And that is also more than okay. Okay. You know, maybe they're also not there when you need them. Like, you should be able to trust your friends. You should be able to rely on your friends, right? A real friend should have your back no matter what. Like, we ride at dawn. Like, real friends, we ride at dawn. Like, if someone hurt you, where are we going? Where do they live? If we need to go and do some crime, where are we going? What are we doing? I'll be right there with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have your back. You know, it's just a phrase. It's just a saying. You know what I'm saying? Don't actually go out and commit some crimes, but it's more so like, I got you no matter what. Okay. So if they're constantly MIA when you need that support, it just might be time to reconsider, right? If you are calling a friend because you've had a bad breakup and you need to go to their house and to cry and be there and just binge watch movies with them and watch, I don't know, eat ice cream on the couch, like they should be there for you no matter what, right? So just saying. And lastly, you just feel lighter when you think about moving on from that friendship. Okay. Like if the idea of ending that friendship brings you a sense of relief rather than sadness, that's a pretty clear sign that it's time to let go. All right. Trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust your instincts, because something in there will tell you that it's just kind of time. And it just kind of makes you feel at peace when you think about it, that you know it's just time to move on. And none of this means that you need to like go through a crazy like confrontational breakup with a friend if you resonate with any of these things, right? Like these are just signs to pay attention to within yourself, to whether start distancing yourself, I don't know, quiet quitting a friendship as well, or even having like a hard conversation with them. Like, you know, whatever feels best for you. This doesn't have to, like, if you're like, oh gosh, okay, now I feel like I have to go and end a friendship. Like, it doesn't have to be this like anxiety inducing situation. Just feel it out. See what naturally progresses. Maybe find peace and understanding that maybe your friendships are going to just naturally dissipate the more you grow, the more you evolve, and the more you learn about yourself. Right? It doesn't have to be this gut-wrenching, horrible feeling. Sometimes it is. Sometimes when a friendship comes to an end, we grieve that friendship, and it's hard. And it's like we grieve a romantic relationship. Grieving friendships, they're not easy. But you should always be putting what's best for you first. You should always be putting what feels better for you first, regardless. Sometimes these issues can be fixed and repaired, and sometimes they can't. So just kind of like pay attention to the things that I mentioned, all right? Like these signs are more about just tuning into how you feel and being able to just recognize when a friendship isn't really serving you anymore, and just knowing that it's okay to let go. It's okay to understand and find peace knowing that a friendship has run its course, okay? And that it is the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself. I hope this was helpful. If you want some more tea, some more in-depth, unfiltered vibes, and hear kind of about how like my personal friendships have kind of dissipated, grown apart, come back together, all of the tea, make sure you subscribe to the Patreon, and we'll talk about it over there. If you're listening to this in the morning, afternoon, or night, my loves, I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, or night.